Nothing weird happened, and everything is fine, and I didn't go anywhere for any time. That's what had happened, and you know. Margot, I've got my hands full here making the repairs to Cambot Jr. Have you reached out to Space Santa Claus? I'm sorry. I mean the super high exalted Presidente of Planet X, Space Santa Claus. From space.
I have been working on locating Leader Santa Claus and shall inform him of our interdimensional adventure across time and our subsequent reappearance nearly a year in the future.
You got all that? Oh boy. Well, that's that. I think it'll be good as new after a recharge in the editing process transfer coupling bay. And we'll be back on the air. Oh, and welcome back, everybody, to the Retrostation1989. I'm Commander Dan, and this is License to Play, our show where we evaluate licensed video games. Things like games based on movies, comics, soft drinks, celebrities, breakfast cereals, to determine whether or not they are basically worth anything and have a license to play. You know, it seems like we've been away for a while, I'm sure, as you've noticed. But folks, there's a good reason for that. First, let's check in with Margot, our ship's onboard control system and artificial intelligence. Margot, any word from Leader Space Santa Claus? From space?
I have his assistant on the line. We should be in touch shortly. Whether or not we get Leader Space Santa Claus from space to help us, we're only going to have time for one last broadcast from our current vector.
Thanks, Margot. Well, Space Pirates, thanks for checking in on us here aboard the Retro Station. Looks like this episode's going to be a quick one, and we've got a doozy of a game to check out this week. But to do that, we're going to have to go back, all the way back to 2025. Stuff happened. Crappity crud. We skipped last year. We got thrown into the future, so I don't have a file on what happened in 2025 here. So never mind about the flashback. Looks like we're going through some changes here aboard the old Retro Station, and from the news broadcasts and video scans from Earth, it looks like the world's going through changes of its own, here in the future of 2026. Even though we were out a little while, it seems like clockwork. Everything goes screwy. I've been up here, it seems like, for years and years. And I've been playing trash to protect our planet from being destroyed from beyond our galaxy. And it seems the world was worth unliquidated at the time. That changed when I caught a documentary from something called Netflix about this dude, Puffles, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, you know, P. Diddles, Sean P. Puff Diddy Daddy Buff Puff Peedle Diddle Daddle Peffy Combs, you know.
P. Diddy Mini, P. Poofy Bite Size, and Puff a Diddy Diddy Puff Pun Size.
Diddy. He did. Freaks and offs, freak-offs. Space Pirates, my show's for all ages, and we're not going to talk about P. Diddy or P. Did not Diddy do it. He probably did. All the things. I mean, he's incarcerated, convicted in jail. It's terrible. Parfdaddle is a monster of the lowest order, but I gotta ask the fella who came on there to talk about the abuse they suffered, why that sweater, bro? Poofy wool and pink? For this documentary? Whoever dressed you that day is not your friend. No, we're not going to talk about Mr. P. Did he or did he not he? No matter how puffy his combs are. Instead, we're going to talk about one of that documentary's producers, Craig Jackson, also known as 50 Cent. Josh Johnson, a terrific comic and great storyteller, talks about how much Puff is hated by 50. Take a look at his channel and watch the entire saga. It spells everything out. But let's talk about Craig. Mr. Jackson, if you're nasty. And Commander Dan, Space Pirates, is the nasty. Wait. And to talk about 50 Cent, we got to talk about my dude Eminem a little bit to talk about their origins. And for that, we got to go back again, all the way back to 2003. The Ali G Show, iPod Gen 3, Operation Iraqi Quagmire, and boom in nostalgia for 80s things. And the National Do Not Bug Me on the Phone registry, which a couple decades later ended up being total bull honky. I'm talking penny loafers, junior achievers, and dancing on the one, bull honky. Super Bowl, big ol' extra dollop of honky. The world was buzzing through the new millennium with unrest, a new war, and an artist who broke all records in hip-hop. And if you believe these stories, being petty. And having watched that documentary series, my dude's petty. Petty. Richard Petty, Tom Petty, and the Heartbreakers. In 2002, after a harrowing street beef landed young Curtis Jackson in the hospital, he roared back at the competition and the other gangs with a mixtape called Guess Who's Back, which was a shock because what landed 50 in the hospital was a severe case of lead poisoning. Let's just say dude lived through what was earlier the fantasy origin of RoboCop, and both his street cred and honestly, his legendary flow impressed this dude, Eminem. Shady Records had just been created, so he could help folks in the way that he was helped by Dr. Dre. Marshall Mathers is true to his hip-hop roots, and as a guy entering his 50s, me, and a fan of hip-hop most of my life, and most of Eminem stuff, him signing 50 Cent proved to me, a fellow Detroit boy, that the man knew talent. And holy crap, did he. Eminem and 50 competed for Best Rap Album at that Grammys. Eminem took it with the Eminem Show, and yeah, I get it, but 50's Get Rich or Die Trying went 9 times platinum, and its most famous track, In Da Club, is recognizable from just 50 saying the word go. Go, go. And that's all I can say or play from that song without getting this whole station erased from reality by the algorithm. But you get it. 2003 was the dawn of 50 Cent's meteoric rise to fame and fortune. And with G-Unit, Eminem, and all of hip-hop being conquered in his first year signed, what was the frontier 50 would conquer next? Iron Chef? Zookeeping? Movies? Flavored gooch water? Maybe not. But, man, Glacier Sack, all natural bonch water. The memories. No, he made something else. Country music.
You can find me in the club, a bottle full of bub. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rubbed. Go shoddy, it's your birthday, we're gonna party like it's your birthday. When I pull up out front, you see the Benz on the dubs. When I roll 20 deep, it's 20 nights in the club. My flow, my show brought me the dough that bought all my fancy things. My crib, my cars, my clothes, my jewels, and tight-fitting jeans.
No. Better. Better than Conway 50, I hear you ask? Oh, heck yeah. It's 2003. G-Unit was on the rise, and 50 and Eminem and all of G-Unit came up with a video game. And if you think you have any idea what flexing is, why don't you sit back and take a lesson from the kings of pure flexing, G-Unit?
Advised. Commander, you should probably never do that again.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Let's move on. Let's break it down and start with the mogul Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. The man has the mind of a shrewd businessman, and his level of pettiness makes him by default mayor of Petticoat Junction, and holds a grudge like it was made of handles. In his first year of popularity, he made a musical typhoon that was unable to push back against, and ultimately, he had a list of things he wanted to do. After turning Ja Rule into a punchline, and helping turn Benzino, hater and former publisher of The Source magazine, into this.
Got nothing against some of them that can rap, but I care about us more. I don't want to go through, I don't want to talk about it no more. I don't want, for 22 years, every time I do an interview, they ask me about Eminem.
Fitty had an idea. Let's make a game to rival Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. Tell the real tale of Fitty and G-Unit and the reality of the streets. What better studio to develop a game with gritty realism and street cred than the vetted and certified legit creators and designers of a game so authentic to the urban gang experience that it forced MCs to hang up their mics and backwards hats and jorts? That's right, nothing other than Police Quest. Yeah, Vivendi Universal. Gritty, life on the streets realism from none other than Sierra Online and Vivendi Universal. No, okay, maybe they're not, rock stars, but the game went into development in 2005, and typical licensed games went from the concept of a gritty reflection of life on the streets with a glitz and gameplay to rival Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. And like most licensed games, rocket out of the colons of Vivendi Universal as a polished turd that was about as compelling as this wild, realistic version of realistic life on the streets of the inner city that are crazy wild. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, the game was reworked into a PSP version titled 50 Cent Bulletproof G-Unit Edition. It was smaller and it was top-down with a top-down perspective, which released in 2006, and as a portable game, it's not bad. But if this is the G-Unit Edition, I'd get your units checked, guys. A sequel, 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, was released in 2009 and fared little better. All of the games they produced were received with lukewarm aplomb from the critics. If you're fans, you might have liked them, but the scores were in the 60s. That was pretty much common across the board, with the biggest complaint being destroying your enemies just wasn't any fun. Which for fans of G-Unit felt like 50 Cent getting on stage for a blistering performance, leaving the crowd roaring and sweating and demanding more visits to the candy shop, but getting this from the critics.
I'm afraid you're just too darn loud.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the game, and before we begin, let me warn you, this is going to be footage of gameplay because one of the best parts of the game is the banger soundtrack. I mean, it's a trove of G-Unit classics, and the game sold over 1 million units in the US and England. But if I play even a handful of seconds of the audio from this game, the way things are being handled in Gulag Tube, my channel would be as finished as Machine Gun Kelly, or his man bun, or his weird beard. Anyway, here's a clip from an episode of X-Play from the time, where Bulletproof won X-Play's first Diurnal Golden Mullet Award.
The recipient of our first Golden Mullet managed to move past the level of badness achieved by most crime shooters in a perfect storm of celebrity endorsement, hype, and laundry room-based missions.
For excellence in the field of bad targeting systems and even worse dialogue, we present our first Golden Mullet to 50 Cent Bulletproof.
They remark on the gameplay, weird script, gun work, and finally give it a 1 out of 5. Bulletproof Fitty may be, but hearing Morgan Webb and Adam Sessler clown on the facial graphics would permanently put anyone in an early ouchie hole. I played this one for a while, and I wondered if other players had a similar experience as I did. So let's take a look at some gameplay and I'll give you my thoughts. Alright, Space Pirates, let's evaluate. First, the good. The graphics are what you'd expect from a game from the time on the Xbox. Near top-end PC graphics, but not revved up so much that they cause weird glitches. Google Assassin's Creed Unity for a good example, or Cyberpunk 2077 for a great example. Yikes. The game looks decent, and I will say that the voice acting is great for all the hip-hop stars involved, and for what it is, what amounts to a screenplay written by hip-hop MCs to flex on how great they are. Yeah, thankfully they're not talking like they were scripted by a bunch of mayonnaise Americans like myself, Tony Yayo delivers lines like Tony Yayo. Not an actor, but an MC and a good enough for video games voice acting job, to be sure. However, we get to the bad, which outweighs the good. Well, for old Commander Dan at least, G-Unit is dropping fierce bombs all throughout of a N-word nature. I'm going to be using royalty-free music here mostly in 8-bit tracks, but here's a sample from the game. Who's K-Dog, I hear you asking? Show him, Splat! Dang it, Splat, not that K-Dog, that's Conan from NWO, from the WCW. Sorry, boss, there's just so many buttons. How does Cambot Jr. do this? It's okay, little guy. We'll have him back up and running soon. Anyway, the other bad thing is that it's not a great script, but the bad thing is, we got Fitty yammering throughout the entire game about everything, repeating himself and so on. And loading time between every section, between the hub area and stores, and contacts, and chapters, and cutscenes. We are spoiled in modern times to have on-hardware installation of software because you get this, right to that, and this, right to that, and this, right to that. I mean, it's bad. It's real bad. And the ugly? Every other mission is like squad-based, but damn. G-Unit is more like G8 guys trying to install an air conditioner while missing random limbs and fingers. So instead of Army of 2, you're getting constant escort mission of 3,000 and then roast you for your team eating a hefty bag of ass. It's the oldest school equivalent of a random and ranked, only playing Hanzo over and over. And you're like, dude, we keep losing. Please play anyone else. Anyone else. And they say, no, I'm a Hanzo main. And if that's true, if they were really a Hanzo... Oh, you know what? I'm okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm losing track, okay? But if you've played Overwatch at all, you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. And this game needed more baking time in the controls department. I mean, it plays like you're controlling a shopping cart with metal skate wheels, but also greased with Astroglide and just enough lag to make it a struggle to do any damn thing at all. I guess it's a metaphor for life on the mean streets. Everything's hard and nothing works, and then you gotta start shooting at stuff. And it's super crappy and annoying. I now dub it crapnoying. There are games that did this far better. Even though this game put forth a great effort for the short time Universal gave the programmers. I mean, it looks fine and it sounds really good. We gotta ask one final question. The most important question. Did P. Diddy actually do all that stuff? No, we're never going to talk about that question or answer it. It's been answered. No, the most important question is... So, does 50 Cent, Bulletproof, have a license to play? Well, for me, yes. It's a relic of a lost age. And as a Shady Stan and a G-Unit fan, I gotta ride with this, even though it's not great. For the general public, this goes back on the shelf, with its license, sadly, revoked. Margot, did we hear from Space Santa yet?
Affirmative, Commander. Leader Space Santa will contact us in 7 days' time. We should offer another evaluation when he reaches out to us. You know how he gets. He sounded rather agitated when we spoke.
Well, that sounds about right. Okay, folks, next week we're going to take a look at another title, and it's also for the Xbox and came out the same year as Bulletproof. And we're going to let Planet X know what happened to the Retro Station and where we've been for a while. And exactly what happened. And we'll let you know as well. But before I let you go, remember, no matter what I've said during this review, or any review I put up there, remember to always, if I said something in the past, or in the future if I say anything that might bother you a little bit, remember more than anything else, remember to always, always, always stay retro. Peace.
Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. You're a salt adult. Get upset on the internet. You're a salt adult. Throwing out a hissy fit, your views ain't in the millions, and every up and comer is a threat to what you're dealing. And instead of getting better, you just spout up on your Facebook, crying on your Twitter bit about how bad your case look. In case you didn't get it yet, allow me to rephrase it. You cry more than my 4-year-old. I'm actually amazed.